Hello, and welcome to another episode of LSVT Global's podcast, Think Big and Loud, where we share inspiring stories, expert insights, and engaging conversation, all designed to empower and uplift the lives of individuals with neurological conditions and those who love and support them. My name is Beth Peterson, and I'll be your host for the show today. And our episode today features special guest Chantal Peraggine, a speech-language pathologist and telehealth specialist at FOX Rehabilitation. And as a telehealth specialist, Chantal has really been at the forefront of integrating evidence-based practice strategies into speech-language pathology. She's also passionate about utilizing LSVT LOUD to empower individuals with Parkinson's disease and other neurological conditions to improve their voice and communication skills. In this episode, I get to talk to her about both of these topics. So Chantal, welcome to the show. We're happy to have you here today.
Hi, Beth. Thank you so much for having me. I've been such an admirer of LSVT Global since I've taken the course myself. So it's an honor to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, yes. Well, you came highly recommended. So I'm excited to discuss your journey with FOX Rehabilitation and just your experiences with LSVT LOUD today. And I was thinking if you can start by telling us a little bit about your role as a speech-language pathologist at FOX Rehabilitation.
Of course, I think I'll take you from the very beginning. So I had joined the practice in 2017. I was searching to do something different. I feel like my whole entire career, I absolutely love being a speech-language pathologist. I'm just always wanting to continue to learn and try new things. So I was on a path to try something different. I got certified in FEES, which is fiber optic endoscopic evaluation of swallowing. It's an instrumental type of assessment. I was doing my observation hours, and in doing so, wanted to keep a hand in patient care. So I had joined FOX, sort of a per diem flex option at the time while I was doing both. Shortly realized that doing FEES on a day-to-day basis, I thought it was so interesting, but really wasn't for me at the time. Okay. And at the same exact time, fell in love with the culture of FOX. So was maybe per diem for a couple of weeks and started to ask some questions about what are some other opportunities, became a full-time speech-language pathologist with FOX Rehabilitation, and started to just ask what opportunities are out there. And the region I was working in at the time posted a position for something called a regional quality assurance liaison, which was an amazing role providing some additional support to a regional team that we had for onboarding, documentation support, just having that extra support to the team as clinicians onboard and then stay and continue their years within the practice. So it was fun to kind of have a balance of treating patients and working with colleagues and assisting the regional director. About 3 years, I would say, into that role, I had went out on maternity leave. I had my son. And while I was out, I heard that there was a position opening up for clinical specialists. So I applied for that. And when I returned from family leave, started a clinical specialist role. It was really fun, very interesting. It was a new position within the practice. I was one of 4 clinical specialists that not only regional support, but more practice-wide support for that colleague type of additional help with, onboarding, creating different resources throughout the practice. I just always love educating and learning new things myself and then passing that on, just assisting with the ease of learning different processes within the practice. So I felt like, once again, was a really cool balance and a nice opportunity to grow in that area. While I was doing the clinical specialist role, we started to learn a little bit more about virtual care, which took me to my position today. Okay. We needed a little bit more support as virtual care started to expand. It really took off. So just providing a little bit more attention into virtual care development and helping all clinicians learn a little bit more about how to do that, what works. I started to implement it almost as a hybrid model. Seeing some patients in person and then trying out virtual care and then helping the practice to develop some different resources and education there. So really, really interesting path. I've had a really great opportunity to do so many. I'm so thankful to do so many different things, never bored, type of thing. So That's where I'm at right now. I'm so happy in this virtual care position, and I'm so happy to share some of my experiences with that in combination with how LSVT has impacted my clinical approaches as well. So
yeah, well, that's great. And as a speech language pathologist as well, I love that we can do so much in our field. There's always something different to do. So it's great to hear that you've had so many kind of different avenues to get to the path that you're on.
Absolutely. Look at you. You're hosting a podcast. And like, who would have thought that I would be,
We're trying.
a guest on a podcast? Fox has a Live Better, Stronger podcast also. Just did one of those. And it's like one of those things that looking back when you graduated, you maybe might not have been on the list of things that you thought you were going to be a part of.
Well, and for those in the audience who might not be familiar, can you tell us what's unique about the FOX model of care?
Absolutely. So FOX has an amazing culture to start. So I think as a healthcare professional, as a speech language pathologist, or anybody listening to this podcast, you want to provide always the best for your patients. But FOX also really cares about the people. They care about the people that they work with. And I don't feel like that just in general. I feel like I experience that almost on a day-to-day basis, which really assists with providing the best care for a patient. You love your colleagues. You feel like they're friends of yours. You feel like everybody's out to support you professionally, personally. It just helps with that interdisciplinary type of collaboration to provide the best care. As you can see, too, they're partnered with LSVT. They're so interested in continuing professional development. And you feel that sense of culture where the people that you're working with, your colleagues, also have that same level of passion that you do to continue to learn, to continue to help one another in education. And we work with Fox, not at Fox, is what we always say. And it's so true. Just definitely always feel that sense of we're working together, and the unique opportunity to provide house calls. So we as clinicians go to the patient's homes, whether they live in, an assisted living type setting or in a individual single, type home, or with family members. We can go and then provide that unique type of therapy in the patient's home that's so functional. So it makes it so interesting for us as clinicians to see how they're using the progress that they've made actually in their home environment. And now this whole nother level and layer has occurred with virtual house calls. And how are we doing that? And how are we seeing the changes in the lives of the older adults by hopping on the computer and working with a clinician to reach their goals. It's been very cool.
Yeah. So that's a big difference from other kind of more standard clinics, as you go to the patient either virtually or in person, but you're going to their environment rather than them coming to you.
Always. And I thought this morning to ask a patient, I asked them, I said, hey, what do you like about doing virtual care and, telehealth services on the computer? And off the top of her head, she said, well, I like the fact that I don't have to straighten up before anybody comes to my house. And I'm like, well, that's not really the main thing. We want you guys to be as functional as possible. But I think everybody can understand that, right? It's like, it's just, she meant to say like she feels comfortable. She just can pop on the computer. Yeah. She can do an early session. And I think being able to kind of offer those two types of at-home experiences has been very unique as well, and helps the patients to really adhere to the amount of sessions that they're supposed to be doing. Like I was saying before, how I even got started with virtual care was not doing evaluations from the beginning. I would see patients in person, say, hey, do you want to try maybe a third session this week? On a virtual session? And I'll give it a try. And that's how I really started to learn more about providing the services, and now can do full approaches and full plans of care virtually.
Okay, great. And that kind of goes into what I wanted to ask next, is really just what inspired you to go into telehealth as a specialty?
Right. So I started to see the benefits. I think all of us kind of had some experience with doing telehealth or telemedicine through the pandemic. So that's kind of how it all emerged. And I think I was the same as everybody else when you hear providing these types of services to the older adult. It wasn't until I got the experience myself that I felt, wow, this is such another opportunity for patients that, and also for clinicians, that may have been a missed opportunity if you kind of had that mentality that it's not going to work out.
Yeah.
So I gave it a try. I had to talk to some patients about it and educate them on how, this can be beneficial to them to, whether it's reaching their adherence or ensuring that they're safe in their homes, and allowing the caregivers to help them pop on is what I really saw as a big benefit also. So in giving this a try, I realized that maybe 90% of our patients needed some assistance with logging on, maybe even throughout the duration of the session. So a huge benefit was seeing caregiver involvement and how that really helped with outcomes. It helped the outcomes almost maybe even sometimes a little bit faster, not always, but definitely was a light bulb that went off for me in actually doing it and giving it a try. And at the time when I was a clinical specialist doing virtual care, I just started to feel like this is so helpful for families that are busy, for families that may have not even agreed to house call services at all if it wasn't for this option. So maybe even providing care to some of those individuals that may have not otherwise even received any kind of services, just because families were telling me it was a little bit more convenient for them to be able to pop on to review safety strategies for swallowing. And, we treat a variety of different disorders as speech language pathologists. So ranging from, cognitive services, of course, voice, which I know we'll get into, swallowing and education. It was just so eye-opening to see how we can help the older adult in this new way. And I just wanted to be able to help others to do that. And I felt like how I was able to do that was gaining the experience myself, kind of seeing the progress and then learning how to navigate all the technical type of challenges and provide support to that was a whole nother area of focus, but it needed to be done. It was like, how do we work through some of these different challenges? And once we do, here we are. And now it's so helpful. And we have so many great success stories too, coming in from families that say, wow, originally I didn't think this was a good idea. And that's how most of the calls would go. I would say, hey, we have this option, and either they loved it, they were all on board to give it a try. They said they've done telehealth before, whether it's a doctor's appointment or a consult or whatever it may be, and they were fine. Or no way, mom or dad has cognitive issues, they have hearing deficits. And I was like, wait a minute, what if they actually can hear me even better because you're putting headphones on them and they're looking at me directly? And they see themselves on the computer too. And the attention is sometimes even better. Or what if, one of the other challenges was like attention or memory? What if, we have things up on the screen and we have a caregiver now there, and it's just even more engaging than maybe if I was there in person. It's just, both of those models are great, but I felt like here was a way for us to try something new. And I felt like in the beginning too, when you would say, mom or dad is not used to technology, well, we're going to help them through it. And it just adds to that, one of the tools in our toolbox that we can offer.
Yeah. I would feel like after the pandemic, a lot of people were kind of learning together to be a little more comfortable with technology if that was the only way to interact. So I know, at least in my area, that was helpful, that older adults were becoming more used to and comfortable with technology. So it's neat that you've had kind of both ways. Some were comfortable and ready to go, and others needed a little more, I guess, kind of guidance and support from you. But in the end, it sounds like it's been a great success. So that's really neat.
And I think, I'm sorry, Beth, but I was going to say the educational piece, I think, was really helpful, because I feel like we do that pretty often for a number of different things. Like we advocate for what we're doing. And I think talking it through instead of just giving the quick response of, I don't think this is an option. Well, why? What are the challenges? And you kind of modify the session and problem solve the same way that you do in person, the way that you would in a telehealth speech therapy evaluation or session. So kind of gathering as much as you can ahead of time always helps, no matter whether you're in person or gonna be doing their evaluation virtually.
Yeah. So I know you kind of touched on already what you treat, but I'd love to just hear what types of speech and language disorders you are commonly seeing.
The disorders are a really big range. I've treated patients with Parkinson's, cognitive deficits, dysphagia, aphasia. That's just to name a few. And I think originally when I first started with doing virtual care, I had imagined this is going to be probably mostly just higher functioning patients, patients that are able to sustain doing many sessions with like patients with Parkinson's doing voice or higher level type cognitive intervention. However, I found that even some of the biggest success stories that I have are patients that were almost nonverbal. And
wow.
from joining the session and being so engaged with the family, as well as, me as an SLP on the camera, a lot of the patients that have cognitive deficits love seeing themselves on the computer, and that helps, as well as providing the visuals. We've added, like I said, headphones to patients that have, need that additional stimulation or, are hard of hearing. There's also features that we've, figured out ways to put translation or closed captions. So we kind of say the way that you watch a TV show, let's have my words and your words come up on the bottom. That's super engaging for them. And I think really the biggest piece is just kind of telling family members, hey, I need your help signing on, whether it's a daughter or grandchild or whoever it may be. And they end up joining the entire session. They really see the benefit of it. And that's what leads to the outcomes that we want to see, their engagement there. So yeah, I had a woman who was pretty much nonverbal, and then she was singing full songs and having short conversations with her family members around the holidays last year. So I've been doing this for about a year now, and I feel like that was a big surprise to me because I just I had something like different in my head. I thought like maybe I'd be seeing half the amount of types of disorders that I had seen in the past, or maybe just patients that can, attend to, certain things for a certain long time. But we've actually helped with attention, and we've helped with patients that are maybe considered to be just lower level type goals, but make huge gains just for what they see value in, for what their patient, for their family members were hoping to have them just engage with them, not only just for wants and needs, but that socialization piece, the things that they love to talk about or do were things that we can really, once again, just add into their goals, add into their plan of care. And even though I'm not in the home with them when I'm doing a virtual session, it's like, hey, let's grab some of their familiar items or take their laptop or iPad. And most of the time people are calling in now or logging in on iPads and phones and mobile types of devices that they can show me around their home, and we can go to different rooms and they can show me things that are meaningful that they want to work on throughout their home. So that's been a huge change too. I kind of just envision, I don't know why, them being at a computer and not really being able to move around as much, but it's not like that at all. And I'm just really enjoying that type of presentation to them, and seeing the way that they respond has been, really enlightening, and it's empowering to them to know like, hey, I did a virtual session, and some of them feel really cool that they're like hopping on, and I videoed some of them to do like different education or success stories, and they love it.
Yeah. What's neat. And you're saying meaningful. It's so salient that you're in their house. So they're talking about what they want to be talking about. They're talking to who they want to talk to. So it's such a powerful model of care that you're doing. Well, and I wanted to shift a little bit to talk more about LSVT LOUD. And I know that FOX has hosted a number of virtual live courses for us, LSVT LOUD and LSVT Big, over the years. Is that how you first heard about LSVT LOUD, or how did you get involved with LSVT LOUD?
So I had heard about LSVT and Lee Silverman voice therapy in the past, and it was always something that I guess I was interested in getting a certification for. But I was thinking about this, and I think I might have been one of the first virtual students that you all hosted a virtual course. I'm going to say it was about maybe 3 years ago. Is that when you started providing courses online? Because I remember Fox came to me and they said, would you like to take a virtual LSVT LOUD course and kind of let us know what it's like? And, we had partnered with them for LSVT Big over the years, and I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. So it's kind of like a way that you all adapted, I think, to the pandemic too.
Definitely.
If I could take a guess, I would imagine that maybe you're very successful in doing the in-person courses and kind of shifted towards doing some virtual, which people are able to join across the globe. So I had heard about it, and then took the 2-day course. And I just remember I was really just blown away, because sometimes you think about, wow, 2-day course, that's going to be very much of a attention stretch for yourself, or also commitment, right? Like you sign up for something, you're like, oh, well, what if a wedding pops up or something happens and I have to, not take that. But it was definitely something I would recommend. It 100% took my voice therapy services to the next level.
Huh.
I feel like it's maybe others feel this way too. Like you learn a certain amount in school, then you apply that, you learn a certain amount in your observations that you do, in your supervisory work that you get, when you're a CF, and then you gain your experiences along the way as a speech language pathologist. But I just felt like the way that you all delivered the trainings, the passion behind the trainers that you all had, and how I learn, and I feel like I've had my hand in education for a while, and I've always asked for feedback. Well, what is the best way that people can respond to new learning? A lot of times they say it's from patient examples and videos, and that's what LSVT LOUD highlighted. And that was one of my favorite parts about it, because it made it so interesting to me that not only did you have videos of patients, but you actually had patients joining the course. And that just shows like how much of a difference did these patients see, that they wanted to be a part of this and dedicate their time to helping speech language pathologists learn that. I thought it was so awesome. And I thought, hats off to them. And once again, just something to empower the older adults or a patient that has gone through so much, that, okay, you've made your progress, and now here's an opportunity for you to help other people by teaching these clinicians some of these strategies and things that you've learned, and showing them in real time, like how these different types of evidence-based practices make a difference. And that's what I really feel like set me to the next level with taking that. And that's why I'm such a big advocate for the course. Every time I see one popping up, I think I even did a video for Fox to just tell everybody, hey, we have this new course coming up. Sometimes people just don't get the memo right away about like when the dates are. And like I was saying, you want to plan ahead because everybody's got such busy lives. So it was right away, I said, let me get on there and spread the word. We have different SLP chats and things like that across the practice. So whenever somebody hears about it, they try to jump on spreading the word, because if you've taken it, I'm sure you feel the same way. You want to spread the word to other speech language pathologists to grab some of that really great information. And like I said, had the option to do it virtually. And I think, those options are helpful for people who, you could just see how virtual helps in so many ways. Like, you want to take something virtually, so does a patient. So just think about it that way. So sometimes we shouldn't just assume that the older adult doesn't want to do virtual, because maybe they prefer that. Like that lady who didn't want to straighten up her house at 9 o'clock in the morning today. So.
Well, it's great. Well, I'm glad that you enjoyed the course so much. And I love that you saw, the patients that we bring in. It's amazing. I'm always amazed. I feel like this Parkinson's community just loves to pay it forward. They felt they had this huge benefit. They want to help someone else. And the way they do that, they come to the courses so that they can help the clinicians train and get more real world practice. And it is amazing. It's this really neat model where they want to take their gifts too and pass that along. So I'm glad that you felt empowered by that experience. We love that part of the workshop. So I'm glad to hear you do too. And can you share a success story with an LSVT LOUD client that you've had?
Oh, yes. I somebody I'm thinking of right away. As soon as I took the course, I was really anxious to get moving with this. So once again, I felt like it was thinking back similar as like when I was approaching virtual. It required a ton of education to get the patient on board. But this gentleman and his wife and family owned a restaurant in the area of Jersey that I was working in at the time. And when I first met him to do his evaluation, he was sitting out in the outdoor seating section of the restaurant, just all to himself, very quiet. And as I got to know him, he told me, he used to be a partner chef with his wife. Oh. He used to, go around and speak to all the customers that were coming in and ask, how was your meal today? Is there anything else we can do for you? And that was a big part of, running his restaurant. So they lived upstairs from the restaurant, and I used to go through the restaurant and always like sniff around and be like, what's cooking here today? And then go upstairs and treat him. And this time of year always reminds me of him too, because we're approaching, I guess, Halloween, and he was just such a horror buff, and we would like talk about all that stuff. And it's like certain people just you never forget. Yeah. So this gentleman, had talked to me, and we always say like, for your goals, what do you want to apply this to? So this is before I even took the course. He said, he wanted to be able to, even if he could just go around or sit at a table and have the customers come by and ask, how were things? He wanted to be able to put that personal touch back into it. And even though his wife was doing that, she was always more like the back of the house, for the restaurant. And his part of the shining part of the couple was he was a social one who would go around
Okay.
and he would like get to know everybody and want it to feel more like a family, mom and pop type restaurant. So I said, yeah, don't worry, we'll get you back to that. And when I took the course and I said, hey, this is going to require a little bit more dedication, but I know you're a hard worker. I've seen the restaurant, so let's go for it. So a little bit, he was like, I don't know if I want to do this many times and I don't want to do this long a session, but it's like, you learn that as a clinician in the LSVT LOUD course that, doing these longer, a little bit longer sessions, a little bit more time required from the patient, can really show that evidence-based practice and the calibration that you do. So it's like, he was a perfect person to try that, to hear, what do you think about how do you think you sounded, and kind of just incorporating more of a structure is what I learned. And then I tried it with him and he did so well. He was able to, because of his ambulatory issues, he wasn't able to walk around the way that he used to. But, by the time I had discharged him, he wasn't sitting outside by himself anymore. He was definitely like half the day sitting at a table, having his coffee, and then, greeting some people as they walk by, the regulars, and just so happy to see him get back to, what he enjoyed and seeing the benefits of, what he had worked so hard for continuing in, his later stages of his life, and still being a part of the family business was really rewarding to me as a speech language pathologist. There's certain things that are like, every day you're like happy that you do the things that you do, but then you look back and you're like, wow, like that really just changed that man's life. So he wasn't so isolated anymore.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth. That's what I was going to say. It sounds like it really was life-changing for him to empower him that he can communicate again and get back to what he loves. So that's awesome.
Can you imagine too? It's like you're sitting upstairs and like downstairs, there's like cool things going on in the restaurant and you want to be a part of it, but you just kind of slowly regress from it. So I just think that was something that always stuck out to me, that he really saw that the extra time spent was well worth it for him.
Oh, that's great. What a great story. Well, thanks for sharing that. And then what are some, I guess, kind of unique challenges and benefits of delivering LSVT LOUD that you've run into?
One of the biggest benefits that I know for sure is, learning and teaching the patient to be more self-aware. So we call it calibration, in the course, and being able to kind of be a little bit more in tune with the way that they actually sound. Because many patients with Parkinson's will always tell us after they're being asked to speak loud, or we do their functional sentences, I feel like I'm yelling, or they feel like they're screaming. And I'm like, all right, well, let's actually walk through the different processes and let's take a step back and see how you sounded. And, what did you think about this? And just being a little bit more in touch and in tune with them to have that reassurance to know you're not screaming, kind of thing, was a big benefit that I felt the patients also realized in providing LSVT LOUD. And I guess one of the biggest challenges is like any new certification that you get, or anything that you're trying out that could be maybe new to you, is that education piece. So you have to get the experience yourself. And then once you know how to explain it to a patient, especially that they have to commit to a certain amount of sessions per week and a certain amount of time, this is going to be worth it. When they start to see the benefits, or when they hear about some of the different things that you can't promise, but you're more likely to achieve if you can work with me on this, definitely was something that I think I had to work through in the beginning. And, patient cancellations and things like that, it can be tough. But I think once they start to see the benefits and you can explain and even show some things that we'll be doing ahead of time, definitely the videos and the resources that are supplied in the course helped me with that. So challenges, but I think you guys do a really nice job of preparing speech language pathologists and any clinician taking, big as well for handling. You feel pretty comfortable and you feel pretty armed with, the resources that you need to get out there and apply it.
Oh, great. Well, good. I'm glad that you felt successful and felt supported in anything that you were encountering. So that's great to hear. Well, and I thought we'd wrap up kind of winding back to your telehealth, and how do you see telehealth and that virtual care model evolving in our field of speech language pathology?
Right. Like I said, I had kind of gotten started with this, and now I'm hearing that it's just expanding more and more. And I think that more patients are likely to do it, and also clinicians are likely to give it a try. And I think, my best advice to anybody who's thinking about trying this is, I said this to patients too, just give it a try. Like, what do you have to lose? It's better than not experiencing it or trying to gain that experience at all. because it's a whole nother way of providing care. And I
Yeah.
think most clinicians are always kind of looking for a new way or a better way, even, to provide care. So I'm not saying that one is better than the other, but I
Yeah.
just think our minds go to like, what's the best for this person? So you want to
Yeah.
be able to have your tools, have your resources, and then be able to make it patient specific based on what that patient's telling you. So if they have a limited schedule, or if they have limited family members that are available in the home to assist, or whatever it may be, you just know this is what I can do, and then you can apply it based on the patient's needs. So I think, the only way you're going to be able to offer that option is if you kind of give it a shot. And that's what I always tell my patients and my family members that are so against it at first. I'm like, hey, like, let's just give it a shot. If you hate it, we'll stop,
Yeah.
and then we'll move on to something else, and we'll figure out something else for you. But I think just that give it a try mentality has led to many success stories, and you can see some of these that they post on Fox's social media, and they're just so cool to see so many people doing so many different things and getting back to the things that they love. And there's different ways that we can reach those goals, just as we've always done it, and we've always kind of been creative in our plans. This is just another way to add, and I'm excited for it. So I think it's probably only going up from here, from what it sounds like, with the amount of people that are interested and trying it and seeing some of the benefits. And, like I said, there's definitely challenges too, but, in trying it, we've come up with ways to support one another on this. And it's maybe not for everybody, but it's definitely something to consider for patients that it can work for.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Well, I love to hear it. I look forward to seeing you continue your journey there. And then lastly, I just wonder if you have any advice to give to other SLPs who are new to, or maybe are interested but aren't quite sure. But if in providing telehealth services, do you have any advice for them as they get started?
I think it requires patience. It's just the same way that we need patience to kind of move forward and really do anything that's new, or maybe we need to take a step back and just re-explain things in the beginning when we're meeting a patient for the first time. We just have to be patient with the process and just provide the steps that the patient or the family members need to make sure they have everything that they need to log in, any materials that they need, maybe you can see that they may need ahead of time to set up for success in the session. And also, just the same way that you've gained experiences with in-person, you're going to gain those experiences with virtual, and you're just going to continue to grow your practice with it, and grow the way that you're providing it. It's my best advice is it's still you, whether you're in person or on the computer. Especially with speech language pathology, you're most likely able to provide many things that you do in person on the computer. So just think about that for a second, because I even asked that to a couple of patients. I just kind of want to check in with them and make sure they feel like they're getting the absolute best care that they can. And I say, do you think that we would be doing anything different if I was actually in your home? And oftentimes they say, no, I can't think of anything, especially if maybe they've had an SLP in person in the past and now they're trying virtual. I just kind of want to know, and I always check in. And they tell me, no, I think we're pretty much on track. We're doing it all, and I think it's actually even more convenient for me, especially for people who have those busy lives. I had a gentleman who was still helping out with his grandkids, and he told me, I have to get the kids on and off the bus, and I have to make sure that I'm able to read to them and all these things. And I said, I think that this is actually a perfect option for you, because you're able to kind of blend it in and make your appointments, and you don't have to worry about me being on the road and canceling. You could just say, hey, I can't make it today, and we just move the session to another time. So I think it's just something that we all kind of will adapt to if you give it a chance.
Yeah. So I love it. Sounds like your advice for patients and clinicians is to give it a try. So I love that. It's a good motto. Well, thank you. I really appreciate you being with us today. You have shared so many great words of wisdom. We really appreciate you and Fox and everything that you all do. So thanks for sharing your time with us and your stories.
Thanks for the opportunity to be here today, Beth. I enjoyed it. It was great catching up with you.
Well, great. And I'll just end with some credits to make sure that we're acknowledging everyone who helps support the podcast. So a big thanks to Chantal Peraggine at FOX Rehabilitation. And the theme song that you're hearing as part of this podcast is called Think Loud for Parkinson's by Kindred Spirit and Leo Sayer. And the song and video were inspired by LSVT LOUD speech treatment and were developed to raise awareness for Parkinson's worldwide. The song is available for purchase on iTunes and Amazon, with proceeds being split between the UK charity Cure Parkinson's and the Parkinson's Foundation in the US. I want to thank our production team who helps make all the magic happen in the podcast, and that's CS Design Studios. And if you're interested in learning more about LSVT Loud speech therapy or LSVT Big physical or occupational therapy, or you want to locate therapists in your area, we encourage you to visit our website. That's lsvtglobal.com. And we also encourage you to click the subscribe button wherever you get your podcasts so that you never miss an episode. And we look forward to thinking big and loud with you again next time. So thank you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I speak up 'cause I wanna be heard.